Awesome. So thank you so much for joining me today, Tricia. I really appreciate the time. Now, I've given a brief intro about who you are, but why don't you tell us a bit more about you and what it is you do?
Sure. Pip, thank you so much for having me, first and foremost. Always so grateful to have these connections and these opportunities. And, I'm finding with the bizarre nature of everything with COVID, we keep making these wonderful connections over Facebook and the internet, right? So thank you. And yeah, super happy to be here. So, yeah, just a little bit about myself. I grew up in the restaurant industry. So I started my career as a restaurant professional, sort of fell into it with my dad being a chef. And we had restaurants and he worked at a golf club. And so throughout my whole career, that's really what I focused on. I ended up going to university for hospitality management alongside hospitality accounting. And then as I continue to grow, I've always had this sort of entrepreneurial spirit and wanting to do my own thing and thinking of the next big thing. I think, for a long period, money really drove me and in success. And, I'd still say I'm still pretty focused on having high success, but my needs have changed and my reason why has changed. But yeah, so anyway, I would start all these wonderful ideas and great things and kick them off. And habitually, I wasn't finishing a lot of the stuff that I was doing, and I'd get really down on myself. And somewhere around my early 30s, I ended up, starting another thing and got halfway through it, and ended up having a really dark moment where I just kind of broke down and was like, shit, what am I up to? Like, I'm not finishing anything. And it was actually probably like the best thing that ever happened to me. I did it in a room full of women, and one of the women ended up being my coach, and she helped me to really see that that's not a failure. It's more of a gift, that I'm a really good starter. And so while I was like undergoing all that transformation with her, and that was like, this was probably about 3 years ago, I started to dive deep into self development, and I came
Yeah.
across emotional intelligence, and I was like, this is awesome. It's so great. I love EQ because it's a wonderful field. It talks about all the competencies of self development, and it's measurable. So I use that to really sort of springboard into what I'm doing now, which is business consulting, where I help people kick off their business and then kind of move on, which fulfills my need to have change. And then I
Yeah.
also have my emotional intelligence business, which is all about soft skill development and working with lots of different organizations and individuals to in that field. I feel like yeah, really good about the pathway is long and crooked, that's for sure. But once you kind of start to figure it all out, it's really quite rewarding. So
It
yeah.
is when you have to travel along a path that's not straight, crooked, like you said, you see a lot more. If you travel as the bird flies, you don't see nearly as much. I too have
Mm,
experienced a lot and gone lots of different directions, and I've experienced a lot and I love it. But for
love
us
that.
who are a little bit, out of the loop, what is EQ?
Sure. So emotional intelligence, it really started to make its way into the public's eye and became defined. I find humans are very interesting. It's almost like we have to label everything to really understand it. No
So true.
fault of anybody's, but it is the way that humans are. We sort of need to say, hey, this is that. So it there was Daniel Goldman, who is one of the founders of emotional intelligence. He wrote a book called Emotional Intelligence in the early 90s, which really highlighted what EQ is. And what it is, by definition, it is the ability to recognize our emotions and the emotions of others in the moment, and then use that information to make our decisions and lead our way. So the real
Makes
key
sense.
words that yes, and the really key word there is in the moment, right? So what EQ does is exercises the muscles in your brain to have less reactive moments and more responses to situations by either taking time or developing your communication skills, or feeling through emotions but not letting emotions get the best of us. So emotional intelligence from the way that I've studied it from the Institute of Social and Emotional Intelligence in the United States, breaks it into 26 competencies. And two of those quadrants have to do with self-awareness and the way we show up as ourselves. And then two of the competencies have to do with social awareness and how we show up for others. So it's really fantastic. It's pretty much anything and everything that has to do with self-development put into a tiny little compartment that you can break off in little pieces.
I
love
like
it.
that.
Yeah, me too.
I think, like, as this podcast is about leadership and culture, I think the way you just described it, I'm hoping a lot of listeners are all of a sudden going, oh, that makes sense. The correlation, being able to read others, understanding yours, and breaking it down to live in the moment and address those emotional aspects is really key.
Yeah, you know what, Pip? And, so Pip, we've obviously had an interview before, and I remember you had mentioned, with the way that you do your leadership development, about how important it is to. Was it you that used the gym analogy, or you used a really great analogy about like not just doing it really quick and getting it over and done with, like doing longevity training? Do you remember that?
Seeing long-term results. I'm trying to remember what I said,
I know, it's
but
a
I
really
definitely
good
have
one.
made those
Yeah,
analogies before
yeah,
about going the long way and doing it properly.
that's right. Like it's not like
We
a
go
quick Band-Aid fix.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe the analogy I may have used was either going to the gym or the chiropractor.
Yes.
You maintain a level of excellence and you develop over time, rather than breaking down, having all these issues, and then going, somebody fix me.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And
Yeah.
then like expecting that to happen overnight. And we approach it at our company EQ Culture the same way. We break them into competencies, and then we teach those competencies over. We give about an hour training in person or now virtually, and then we focus on that for the entire month. So like an example would be empathy. And so we talk about empathy, the foundations of empathy, and then we do all the exercises around empathy over 30 days so that we're making like long lasting change, as opposed to just coming in and having everybody get super pumped and then like it all fizzles away. We all go back to our normal our normal selves,
That's it.
So
And I know that a lot of the programs that we do, I avoid the really flashy things. I use bubble soccer as an example all the time, because it's like that. It's fun. Everyone gets super pumped, and then we go back, and there's really nothing behind it. It was like, that was good fun, but where have we developed? What lessons? Am I more aware of how my team is feeling? No, I just know they like to run at each other and bounce.
bubble soccer.
So,
I've never actually done it. I heard it gets super hot in those bubbles.
it does.
Is that true?
It is a lot of fun. And I want anyone to know who wants to do bubble soccer, does bubble soccer. I think it's awesome and fun. But for a development tool, I personally think it's lacking, because the message gets lost in the medium.
Yeah.
We're too focused on hitting each other, and so we're not learning about those emotional aspects.
Yeah, that's so true. And so like I worked with an organization, just an individual that worked at this organization, and their organization hired, individualized coaches for all of their leadership team. And then they'd have like, their monthly get together, and it was all around soft skill. And, I often say, Pip, it's a lot of the leaders out there who don't need it are the ones that are implementing it. And it's the ones that do need it that, might need to really switch their gear. But for anybody who's listening, who is leading a team or on a team that might need this, like I always encourage people, it's so important. These are the skills that people remember in other people. These are the skills that people want to hire and have around: the change makers, the empathetic people, the great communicators, not just, John, who's awesome on Excel. So
That's it.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's very true. There's a lot of leaders, and I've spoken to them when they've come to us. It's like, my team's got all these issues. They need these things solved. Them. It's kind of like, well, you've put these people together.
True.
You've given them these responsibilities. So all these hurdles they're having stem from you. So stop trying to change your team. Maybe they're a fantastic entity, but they don't have the leader that they need right now. And that's like one of the things
100%.
we struggle a lot trying to get a lot of businesses to bring their leaders to their team events, because we're all part of one team. It's, want to be
Yeah.
successful, we got to do it together.
Wow, that's so interesting that you said that. I mean, because yeah, I absolutely agree. And there's that old saying, like sort of, the head of the snake. You know what I mean? And it's really important. That's self-awareness, which is really the first competency of EQ. And I just want to quickly say, with emotional intelligence, it's not about being perfect. Like, I'm not perfect. Trust me. I mean, some people might say so. I'm kidding. but no, I am 100% not. And, it's just really about, it's not even just about being and responding in the moment, but it's also, if you don't have the response that you should, then just being able to quickly get out of that and change that and understand, hey, look, I made a mistake there. Let's try and change it and communicate better. So fantastic tool. I absolutely think, it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. It's changed my life. And
So good. It's amazing. It's amazing to hear, because you hear stories of people hitting rock bottom or dark times and staying there lost and dwell on that. But it's lovely to hear an example of you using that as a catalyst to kind of go, don't know where to go. There's plenty of roads, and having someone there as a coach to help guide you to pick which route might be the best one, or help you change directions at that time.
100%. Coaches are the best, I feel. I mean, I guess it depends on where you are in your journey. I talk a lot about the difference between a coach and a mentor, and what maybe right now where I am at, I'm a little bit more geared to mentorship with people who have done this journey of emotional intelligence ahead of me. So I've been sort of contacting and reaching out to people that are a bit more mentorship at this stage. But that said, I say, okay, well, what do I need to work on right now? For me at the moment, I need marketing help and building my business from a marketing perspective. So I'm now investing in a marketing and business coach, which, 2 years ago, it would have been a little different. So we're really lucky. Just do your research if you're going to be hiring coaches. To anybody listening, do your research, get your referrals.
Definitely, and get to know them.
Yeah.
For any of the clients that I personally take on, I always do a free session first, because in all essence, I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste their time. I'm definitely not right for everybody, and not everyone's right for me. So
Yeah.
I think it's only fair that if you ever looking to deal with a coach, if they don't offer you the opportunity to get to know them before putting money down, they're probably not going to be the best coach for you, unless someone's super famous and you're just like, oh, let's go to Tony Robbins because it's Tony Robbins. You don't get your free
Exactly.
sessions with him. You give him your money,
no.
and you just say, teach me, because it's him. But I personally
So
believe as a coach, I need to have a emotional connection to the person I'm going to coach, so I can make sure I address their needs effectively.
I love that. Yeah. So true. So true. You need to have that connection. A
Definitely.
lot of time investment from both ends, so.
Yes. Time and money. I hate seeing people waste their money on tools they don't use, or buy the wrong tools. It's important to make sure you get the right help from the right people.
100%. And there's a lot of noise out there these days too in this space, and it's a big industry. So self-development and all that, and even all these like digital marketing and and unfortunately, I'm just going to say it, but even these days, you've got to have lots of followers and lots going on to really sort of even break through some of that noise. And then, I don't know about you, but sometimes I even just go, oh God, like I just want to work off of like my word of mouth referrals, which are fantastic. But like, sometimes you're like, oh, it can get a little bit challenging as people in the space of like, I think you know what I'm saying. Like, you're like, it's a lot of work, isn't it? Yeah.
And
So,
a lot of people have great imagery and they sell a amazing looking product, but whether or not it's actually there.
Yes.
I saw a fantastic video about that recently. It was a guy on TikTok surprisingly enough. He was a landscaper. And when he
Mm-hmm.
first started his business, he had a really crappy beat down truck. And he would park 2 blocks away from any job when he was going to quote. He'd go in, introduce himself, get the job. And then when he turned up, he could see the reactions being like, oh my God, look at this truck, look at this business. What have we done? And through the work, he saw their reactions change. And all of a sudden, like, oh, this guy's doing a good job. He's doing a great job. And the worry about that imagery of the, that beat down truck was gone. They're seeing the results. And, it's
How
an important thing. We can't
interesting.
always judge a book by a cover. I can
Yeah.
go buy a $300 suit, get a fresh shaven haircut, and look like, the best coach in the world.
Yeah.
I've never actually done the job. I'm not going to be able to do the right thing. So it's important. We get to know each other.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that that analogy and that story. Actually, it makes so much sense. I have one really amazing coach in my network. She's been coaching for 20, 22, 23 years, and she's just fantastic. I mean, she follows the 3 principles, and very, very little noise and movement on social media, but she gets the results. So I love what you said, just making sure you have that relationship and making sure you trust the person. And I think referrals are really important too, other people's experiences. Mm,
Definitely. It's so key.
mm,
So EQ culture and leadership training is kind of
mm-hmm.
what we're here to talk about. Why is it important?
Oh man. Well, the whole reason I do it is because of where we are now as a human race, and also the future of our children, and making decisions and getting the right leaders into these leadership positions. We've noticed a massive shift in the last probably 3 years around these subjects and social impact, um, and um, and so I think that if we don't start doing this, if we don't start really training people to understand from a more holistic view of how companies need to be run and how people need to be run, we're just going to be doing a lot of detriment to us and ourselves. There's also 2 other major reasons. So one is the dehumanization, I guess, of the way things are going with, everything starting to come online, lots of technology. We need to keep that human connection strong. And in order to do that, we need to show the importance of human interaction. So we actually always had the saying, part of our slogan, which was like, it will always be in person. And now, obviously, with the current situation, we were like, oh, I guess that's out the window, But
Yeah.
the whole, because we do believe that you get this energy when you're with people in the same room, right? And if you can help people guide their emotions and the way they show up energetically, we're just going to really start to vibrate on a higher plane, and have overall global fantastic results. So that's one thing. And so we will aim to get back into human connection. But I think that a lot of this does translate online, and we're really lucky in that sense. Anyway, so that's one really important thing. It's just the future of the planet. And then what was I going to say is the second thing? I can't remember right now, but I will just say that, like, part of us as a family, my son goes to a fantastic school in Bali, and they harbor this holistic approach of self-development as part of their curriculum. And it's, you can see the difference in the children. So it's super important to us, not only in these organizations to do it, but to also do it in schools and universities, where children who we can mold a little bit easier to have these thoughts before they're all adulty and all messed up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Fix the
So,
problem
like,
early.
exactly, capturing it. And you can see it. Like, my son is just super great communicator. He's got a massive amount of empathy. He's not perfect. He's still a little boy. He loves video games, probably a little too much. But at the same time, he's able to address and label his emotions quite easily. I remember what it was that I was going to say. The second really important thing, Pip, is the decentralization of our workforce. So we're finding that we're working with people from multiple countries, I currently work as a consultant for Draper. I run a team out of Indonesia, and then also my assistant is French. And then I have another member on my team, and he's from Portugal, but he lives in Manila. And so we have to start to really use what I like to specialize in is cognitive empathy. So it's empathy from our conscious level. So we're not having an emotional reaction because we've been through it. Like, a terrible example of someone's father passing away or something. You can empathize emotionally. Cognitive empathy is empathizing on a very surface level where you're thinking about why that person is doing that thing and why they're responding that way and what is it going on in their world that makes them act that way. And we need to use that power, those tools, to keep our team really engaged with one another and understanding of one another. And that's just going to continue to keep happening. Like, we're just hiring people from all over the world. So between those two things, I think that's why it's so important.
I have to agree with you.
Yeah.
I think we're probably one of the few team building companies who do school programs. And
Oh,
I personally believe that if we can make these young leaders awesome, I'll put myself out of business. Like,
yes,
if we
love
can
that.
build these amazing people, they're going to go into the workforce already having these amazing skills, be like aware of their emotional states, how to handle others, how to interact with people better. A lot of problems we have now are going to cease to exist, and you and I will both be out of a job, but I'm okay with that.
I know. I absolutely love that. And so I also do consulting, and one of our portions of consulting is building these businesses, and we primarily focus on social impact businesses, and it's all about these social impact. So you need these right people who are thinking from that perspective of like, how is this business going to help the planet in the long run? You have to have those people at the helm. Now,
Yes.
the other thing to remember is all of us as a general human race, not everyone, but majority of people, Western culture, are becoming more aware, and more compassionate and understanding. So I almost don't think in 10 years time, people are going to be putting up with poor leadership. I think they're just going to be like, well, no, I don't need to be treated this way, because there are people out there that have developed themselves and that do treat people the way they should be. If I think back to like some of my first jobs in restaurants that I was in, oh my goodness. I mean,
Yeah.
zero, zero emotional intelligence going on in those kitchens sometimes.
Oh
So,
yeah. I often get asked what gives me the right to speak about this? What kind of experience do I have? And I often say I've worked for the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've seen it, I've experienced it. I know firsthand how it feels
mm,
when people don't pay attention to my emotional cues. I see the impacts it has on teams when they break down these issues. It's it's evident to me, and I think it's through that experience and time I can speak intelligently about the importance of EQ, leadership, and blending these things together, because I don't have the time to be treated poorly, and no one does. We
hmm
shouldn't be working for businesses who don't care. And we spend so
completely
much
hear
of our
that.
time working for these places. The least they can do is care a little bit
Yeah,
about us.
absolutely. And I don't want to misguide any of the listeners on this. Like, this doesn't mean soft leadership. As a matter of
Mm,
fact, Jacinta Arden is a great example because she's quite direct with her team in what she has as expectations. She just cares for them in a deeper capacity. And if
yes.
we use the example of let's use the example of like a surgeon who works in the emergency room. They do not have time for like, oh, Pip, could you kindly pass me the scalpel? Thank you. It's not that. It's about being direct and in the moment and getting the job done, whatever that job looks like. But then having that downtime, and those emotional connections and that awareness of your team, and that building of bonds, and coaching and mentoring in downtime so that you're able to build up those relationships during those times. So, one of the teams that I run right now in Indonesia, I have expectations. We have expectations and goals and and things that we need to meet. We have our OKRs that we're very, very serious about meeting these goals, but there's also time for mentoring, one-on-one time, making sure that the door is really always open. And also, this might sound a little slippery, but the more emotionally intelligent you are, the more you can actually really guide the conversation the way that you want. Some people would argue, oh, if I'm too soft, all I do is hear my employees bitching or complaining and did it. Well, no, because you can actually kind of deviate that if you're a really great leader into harboring a work environment where you don't put up with that. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yes, there's a chance you'll have people whinge and complain and bitch to you about stuff. But if you understand them as a person and where they're coming from, the stresses, the triggers, you can help them navigate that. If I put someone on a project and it's caused them to freak out because of one reason or another, I can adapt future projects or adapt them to manipulate them to be in a position that makes them more successful. Because if they're successful, I'm successful. And
exactly.
that's, as a leader, that's the ultimate sign of success, is if your team's doing well.
Yeah, I love that. It's absolutely 100% true. And another, just like a quick tip for anybody who might be listening, even if you do like almost like a buddy system where they have someone who's a sounding board that they can go to that you trust, that they trust within the team to have those moments of venting, it actually can really help, because what it does is, if it's somebody who's on like the same level of you, right? So it's not a mentor per se, but maybe somebody who's like, if we're talking about a sales team, you have one person that you meet with once a week for 20 minutes, you guys have a chat. Once they have that chat, it actually gives if they have a real problem, it actually gives them more confidence to address their leader if they have an issue. I'll give you an example. I had a young lady that I was working with. She was just having a problem with the lack of transparency. Within her organization, she didn't know anything about like where the money was being spent, and she felt in her position, she was a manager, that she should have access to that information. I agreed. She ended up, because she was talking to me, I was her coach at the time, she was talking to me. I said, get out, let's get out. Like, tell me what you're feeling. Tell me how you're feeling. We were able to help her guide herself into communicating that to her direct boss, and it actually made it changed. He had no idea. And so it was all about her just getting the courage to communicate that. So
Definitely.
so that's one.
I'm a strong believer that if people feel safe in the workforce, their communication grows.
Yes.
I've done podcasts and videos about this before, and we're not talking about fall hazards. We're talking about having people not making fun of you, having your back, a safe sounding board, so you can work out those communications. It's just key.
Love that. Safety net. I like that.
But listen, I want to thank you so much for being on today's episode with me. A couple of things I definitely took away was, the whole, like I said, the safety net, having good emotional intelligence isn't being soft. It helps you manipulate, and manipulate's not always a bad word. You gotta get over that, people. It's getting people. Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good.
Hilarious. It's so true.
The important thing is you're not a soft leader if you've got emotional intelligence.
Love that. Yes. That was a great takeaway. Now, I always love having chats with you, Pip. You're so easy to talk to.
I'm glad, and you as well.
Yeah, we're so in line with our thoughts, and I can't wait to work together. Yeah.
I will make sure I put your details of how people can get in touch with you in the description of the podcast and the video. So if anyone's got questions, they can reach out to you and have a conversation about being emotional intelligence.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we actually are just about to close out at the end of July a special called EQ Jolts, which we can come in if you're in the Sydney area or New South Wales, and do a 30-minute introduction for you and up to 8 of your team members, or we're happy to do it online as well. So we do those virtually, and that'll run through the whole month of July.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if you're out there listening, get on that and step up your game.
Thank you so much, Pip. That was awesome. You rocker.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Bye. Bye.